to Henry and the Mountain Cloud Zen Center for inviting me to share a little bit of my experiences in our journey to awakening. I'm very grateful for Henry's very kind and profuse words about about me. Um, I think he's a bit overdone it. But thank you very much, Henry. It's really a pleasure to be with all of you, Dharma siblings. And maybe next time we meet, you could drop the term Roshi. I feel much more comfortable with Rollie. I hope that all of you, your families, your loved ones are well and safe in this time of great anxiety, fear, and suffering. Henry informed me that life here in Santa Fe is not as harrowing as they are in other places in the US. Places like New York City, Atlanta, or Farmington, New Mexico. Anyway, I hope, and I am sure that the Dharma will make sure that we're all okay. We're all okay. We've always been okay. And we are always okay. I had the pleasure of visiting Mountain Cloud Zendo after the Sanbo Zen session in 2013. I was hoping to come back to Santa Fe for the Kenshukai this August. But the coronavirus pandemic dashed our hopes for the Kenshukai this year. Hopefully, we'll have another chance in the near future. Here in Manila, we are nearing the second month of what our government calls enhanced community quarantine, a bureaucratic term for an almost complete lockdown. Yesterday, there was an announcement that some cities, including Manila, where I live, are in for at least another 2 weeks of lockdown. Another 2 weeks of, shall we say, forced isolation. Another 2 weeks of living like a monk, like in the old days. It would do no good to recount stories of how the coronavirus pandemic has devastated almost every single aspect of life in Manila, and most likely throughout the world. The total human and social impact here is probably the same as everywhere else. But in terms of the economy, the Philippines is most likely taking a bigger hit because we are a developing economy. However, it might be worthwhile to know, especially for those of you who have not been to our corner of this planet, that Filipinos are generally a carefree and fun-loving bunch of folks. Carefree and fun-loving. So much so that we sometimes tend to overdo the good things in life and stare at suffering and adversity in the face and dismiss them with a joke and boisterous laughter. Thus, you can still find entire neighborhoods playing bingo in their backyards, drinking binges among teenage gangs, and boxing matches with bets to boot, all without the benefit of masks and social distancing. That's the Filipino way. A lot of fun. In fact, one of our commercials for tourism says, more fun in the Philippines. Yes, and perhaps now we begin to realize fun and grief go hand in hand. COVID-19 almost caught Zen Center Philippines. That's what we call our Sangha here in the Philippines. Almost caught us by surprise. In late February, we were busy putting the final touches to the lead up to our most beloved, most cherished Holy Week session. That's a 5-day session that we have every year. It's become a tradition in the Philippines to have this just before the Catholic Holy Week. We were quite excited. The registered number of participants had reached a new high. We were able to secure a cozy retreat house nestled in the mountain city of Baguio, about 240 kilometers away. And there was a heightened level of commitment to the practice in the Sangha. However, on March 8th, we were constrained to make a double-edged and very difficult decision. Cancel the session. Cancel even our weekly night seats. This was truly a heartbreaking, devastating decision for all members of the Sangha, especially the teachers, I think. But after a week, the government declared the lockdown. So we were ahead by a hair's breadth. But suddenly we realized that the Dharma does work in mysterious and subtle ways. On the morning of that fateful day, just before we made the announcement to cancel our session and our sits, it came to the teachers. There are 3 of us in the Zen Center, 3 teachers. It came to us like a flash. Virtual practice. Virtual practice. This decision was met by disappointment and doubt. We had never done anything like this before. We've done a few virtual sitting amongst 1 or 2 members, but Sangha-wide, this never happened before. And we really did not have the technology, the infrastructure to do this. The big question was, will it work? Will our members join us? In any case, we cobbled together the mechanics and embarked on our first virtual mini session on the weekend of March 14. The results were electrifying, to say the least. Aside from more than 180 people who signed up, there were also a score of Sambu Zen sitters from other countries who sat with us. All the feedback that we received were positive, with comments such as, quote, "Thrilled to be able to participate. Thank you for harnessing technology for the benefit of so many. I look forward to more virtual sitting with all," unquote. And for someone like me who's been sitting alone, I can say that at last Saturday's sit, when my sit was good, it felt like there was almost no difference between sitting with a virtual as against a real Sangha, unquote. This came from a person, a Filipino who's been living in Singapore for quite a while. One of our, should we say, more senior members. In fact, this person began his practice even before I did. And finally, this other person, quote, "For someone like me who's been sitting alone, I can say that at last Saturday's sit, when my sit was good, it felt like," sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. This one, haven't sat with the Sangha in years. But during this morning's virtual sit, I found myself reminding myself to sit as quietly as I could in order not to disturb the sitters on either side of me. I suppose that that meant that I felt the presence of the Sangha, even through the internet. Happy beyond our expectations and emboldened by the initial success, we made virtual daily sitting, virtual zazenkai, and virtual session the foundation of our current communal practice, at least for as long as the lockdowns are in place. We even ventured doing an online kanzeon ceremony and an online jahai ceremony. But the more regular ones are the daily sits and the virtual sasankai. All these experiences have proven to us without doubt that the Dharma is alive and well. The Sangha, not only our Sangha, but the international, shall we say, worldwide, the greater Sangha is alive and well within the Sambo Zen circle. And I've found out among other Zen centers around the world, they have their own virtual sits going on. We have seen that the Sangha makes use of all the resources possible, including modern technology, to keep the practice vibrant in every aspect, in the local communities and throughout the world. Some people are surprised to learn that some of the teachers, the teachers in our community, actually appreciated, let alone were grateful for COVID-19 because of the mind-boggling ways that it revolutionized our practice and made us realize what the traditional Buddhists call interconnectedness. Something that happens in Wuhan affects not only the whole of China, but cities like New York, Madrid, Venice, Tuscany, Manila, Seoul, Tokyo, Hamburg, to mention a few. Very rude awakening for most of us, but something that always has existed deep in our hearts, deep in the hearts of Gaia, Mother Earth, deep in every particle of the universe. One whole existence, totally connected, no fragmentation. So much for the last 60 days. The subject that we will focus on this evening is something that is almost always present in our daily lives. We do it all the time. Most of us don't even seem to notice that we're doing it. But this part and parcel of everyday life could be very sticky for Zen practitioners. Very tricky. The matter that we're talking about is making choices. I suppose you've all heard of Master Joshu. In fact, I think Henry's talk a few weeks ago centered around a conversation between Joshu and his teacher, Nansen. Master Joshu is considered by many to be the role model par excellence of the accomplished Zen seeker. In the koan collection called Hekigan Roku, the English name is the Blue Cliff Record. He figures in 5 koans, anecdotes, stories, with this theme making choices, choosing, picking and choosing. In case number 2, we find Joshu, instructing the assembly, said, "The supreme way is not difficult. It simply dislikes choosing." He then interjects, "If even a word is uttered, it is already an action of choosing or clarity." This old monk, meaning he, the Chinese like to refer themselves in the third person. This old monk does not dwell in clarity. Do you monks want to keep a firm hold on it or not? At that time, there was a monk attending who asked, "You say that you do not dwell in clarity. If so, what is there to keep a firm hold on?" Joshu said, "I don't know either." The monk said, "If you say you do not know, why do you say that you do not dwell in clarity?" Joshu said, "You have already asked fully. Bow and withdraw." In the next 3 koans, also from the Blue Cliff record, we see monks trying to get to the bottom of the supreme way. The supreme way that does not like choosing and picking, or trying to trap Joshu in the paradox of the statement. Supreme, all-encompassing way, but refusing to accept picking and choosing, something that makes life function, picking and choosing. How can life go on without any picking and choosing? Case number 57. A monk asked Joshu, "The supreme way is not difficult. It simply dislikes choosing. What is not choosing?" Joshu said, "Above the heavens and under the heavens, I alone, and only one, I alone am exalted." The monk, "But that is still choosing." Joshu comes back, "You stupid bumpkin, where is the choosing there?" The monk remained silent. Case number 58. A monk asked Joshu, "The supreme way is not difficult. It simply dislikes choosing. Isn't that the pitfall of the modern people, people of today, people of our time?" Uh, Again, from what we learned in our teachers' gatherings, what we call Kenshokai, this term, people of today, means that it refers to the person that the monk was talking to, meaning people of today, that's you. It's not your pitfall, your pitfall. It's that you're undoing. And Joshua replies to him, "Once somebody asked me that question before. I'm so sorry that even after 5 years, I still cannot give an answer." Then the last case. A monk asked Joshu, "The supreme way is not difficult. It simply dislikes choosing. But even if a word is uttered, it is already an act of choosing. Then, how can you, master, try to lead other people?" Joshu said, "Why don't you quote the sentence to the very end?" The monk said, "I just had this much in my mind." Joshu said, "Well, it's just, the supreme way is not difficult. It simply dislikes choosing." I think Joshu answered the questions of the monk very, very well. Perhaps the monk didn't get the whole reality of what was happening. Perhaps they never got that. Okay, egg. Perhaps they didn't understand the depth of Joshi's teaching. So simple, but so direct. In any case, the essence of these koans seem to be that the Supreme Way does not allow picking and choosing, making choices. This stems from the opening line of the Shinjin Mei. Those lines that go, the Supreme Way is not difficult, it simply dislikes choosing. These lines come from the Shinjin Mei. Shinjin Mei is an old work, older than Joshu, in fact. Loosely translated, Shinjin Mei means affirming faith in mind, or more simply, believing in mind. I believe some Zen centers chant this sometime during the day. No? I don't know if you do that in Mountain Club. Do you do that? Do you chant affirming faith in mind? Yes. Okay. So I guess you're more or less familiar with it. No? And this poem is purported to be written by Zen Master Zozan. It's supposed to be the oldest written work on our practice on Zen. No? So Master Zozan is known as the third Chinese patriarch. We do not know much about Zozan. Oh, by the way, his Chinese name is Jiangxi Sengchan. We do not know much about Zozan, except that he was a lay person, like I guess all of us here, lay person. We never can say we're monks or nuns, no? He was forced to practice the Dharma, the way, in hiding from the years 547 to 577, because at that time, the current Emperor Zhou Wudi, was very busy persecuting Buddhism. Monasteries and convents were being closed. Monks and nuns were being defrocked. The images, sutras, instruments related to the practice were all being burned. So he had to go into hiding. After the persecution ended, he still had no permanent home for 10 years. In 502, the would-be fourth patriarch met him, became his attendant. The year of his death is recorded as 606 AD. That's about all that we could find in the various Zen records about Master Zozan. Now, in his stage show a few weeks ago, Henry so beautifully showed us the spontaneity as well as the subtlety of the ordinary mind, the way of everyday life. And we could really see that this Dharma, this way, has no limit, has no restriction. The myriad dharmas are always available for us to enjoy. It seems that these 10,000 upon 10,000 dharmas are dying to be picked and chosen. How then can we reconcile an inseparable aspect of daily life with the teaching of the third patriarch? The Supreme Way is not difficult. It merely dislikes picking and choosing. From a purely instructional point of view, It does not take much to see that the Shinjin Mei is the third patriarch's admonition against the excesses of dualistic thinking. Let us look into the most relevant stanzas of the verse. The perfect way knows no difficulties, except that it refuses to make preferences. Only when freed from hate and love, it reveals itself fully and without disguise. A tenth of an inch's difference, and heaven and earth are set apart. If you wish to see it before your eyes, have no fixed thoughts for or against it. To set up what you like against what you dislike. This is the disease of the mind. When the deep meaning is not understood, peace of mind is disturbed to no purpose. The way is perfect onto vast space, with nothing wanting, nothing superfluous. It is indeed due to making choice that its suchness is lost sight of. Love or hate, for or against, right or wrong, healthy or sick, profit or loss, self or other, my way or the highway. All these are products of the delusive mind, or the term that I prefer, the conditioned mind. The aspect of our being that's concerned with breaking down our original nature, breaking it down into neat little boxes, mostly for the purpose of self-preservation. To survive, this little self needs to be constantly fed with worldly pleasures, earthly riches, entertainment, and power. This self wants everything to be safe, comfortable, and predictable. But this little self is also an aspect of our true nature, our original self. Original nature never signed a contract that everything, that life will proceed as our little self demands. So glitches and bumps occur. A growing sense of dissatisfaction arises. The little self's perspective and needs begin to change. Perhaps a knowing feeling of an unfulfilled thirst will be felt. Confusion, anxiety, and fear might start robbing the little self of serenity and sleep. Even more, worse things could happen. Health and well-being start a downhill spiral. If the little self is sensitive enough, it will seek a genuine and lasting source of satisfaction.
Yeah, Peg, does it look like we've lost Rollie? No, no, he's there. Rollie, we seems like we lost you for a bit. Are you ready to resume?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
I'm so sorry. The drama is playing tricks with us. I was afraid that this could happen because the services of internet are not that good here.
Well,
I'm so sorry, but
no,
the internet
maybe
is not so good here.
not to worry at all. Maybe just go back one sentence and just pick it up again, Rollie.
Okay. Yeah, we were about bumps, helping the little self to awaken from its long nap. If the little self is sensitive enough, it will seek a genuine and lasting source of satisfaction. Hopefully, the little self will embrace a way, a practice that would lead to genuine from the veils of illusion. There are many ways, but the simplest and most direct path is the most preferred one. Simplistic, but this is a rough roadmap of our journey for awakening. Once we start our practice, we learn to silence the dualistic mind using the most simple but necessary function that sustains our being. And this function is nothing else but our breath. Keeping an erect spine and focusing now on this inhalation, now on this exhalation, we learn how to tame the delusive mind, penetrating the depth of each moment and returning to the surface of each moment, fresh and unadorned. When distracting thoughts arise, we are advised to acknowledge them and set them aside. Actively suppress just wastes energy that would best be used to go back to following our breath. Developing a new sense of awareness is critical to awakening. A practice is not easy, but there are moments of distraction, boredom, loneliness, and doubt. Sometimes even despair. But if we are aware of these detours, we are on the right track. Zazen is not about dumping down the mind into a blank screen. It's all about being aware and keeping awake. More and more, the layers of delusion wear off. The shackles of dualism start to loosen. Insights start to form. But we are advised to let them go. Insights could become concepts. And concepts could become another layer of delusion. The practice is never easy. But if you persevere and practice earnestly, as in every day, something will happen. Something does happen. It will be an event, not a thought or a feeling. Time seems to have stopped. Seems like only a breath or two have transpired, but the gong has rung and the sit is over. Suddenly, that little self is nowhere to be found. Keep awake. What's left? What is left? Maybe just this. Or the white, pinkish, reddish petals of fragrant blossoms, like these frangipani blossoms. Or just the feeling of feet being washed. That's how our previous head teacher experienced his first awakening. His feet were very dirty because of the session. He wasn't cleaning himself, just focusing on breathing and moving during the session. So after about 3 days, he had to wash his feet. And during that time he was washing his feet, bang! It happened. Or it could be just a hypodermic needle being inserted into a vein. Or it could be the crunch of an ankle being broken. This actually happened to one of the masters named Unmon. He broke his leg, and also he broke all the delusive layers around him. It is a unique taste, something we can never forget. Such peace, freedom, and joy, and we want more of it. But we are cautioned not to grasp after more events like this. They're always under our zafu, always waiting for us, but we can never will them to happen. We just need to keep letting go, letting go, letting go. Sitting, letting go, sitting, sitting, and more sitting. And happen they will, but not under our volition. Years pass, and we continue practicing. Hopefully, something, or perhaps more happening events occur. Hopefully, truly earth-shaking events, all encompassing, leaving nothing at all. More and more, the voice of that grasping, demanding little self seems to have receded like an echo. And our tolerance level seems to have increased. There are more moments of very little or absolutely no I, no me. Sometimes we consciously ask ourselves, who is enjoying this glass of wine? Or who was hurt by her insult? Or who is voting? What is there? Just the tartness of the Chardonnay. Just the bluntness of the insult. And just the ticking off of the ballot without any trace of entitlement. What has happened? Where is that I? Some researchers have reported that the fight or flight response has been hardwired into our psyche, perhaps particularly in the left hemisphere of the brain. But then again, brain patterns and neural formations do change. And various researchers, some even documented on the internet, on YouTube, have shown this to happen. There's no end to our practice. The myriad dharmas have no limits. There's no practice to end. As one of our vows, aspirations, go. The myriad dharmas have no limits. I resolve to learn and master them all. Going back to Joshu, what happened to Joshu after his great enlightenment? The first of many. That first one that was triggered by the Mondo with Nansen. He had about 17 more, 17 great experiences. How we wish we could have even half of that. Great experiences. Our output keeps reminding us that those big Satori experiences are simply not only heads and shoulders, but maybe mountains above the regular experiences of awakening that happen today. Anyway, Master Joshu had 18 of those big ones. But after this first realization, in the comments appended to the koan, Master Mumon, the commentator, said, even though Joshu has come to realization, he will have to delve into it for another 30 years before he can realize it fully. 30 years, 3 decades, pretty long time. Joshu experienced his first taste of Satori around the age of 18. He never let up on his sitting, even in his twilight years. Since he lived to an age of 120, that's a solid 102 years of sitting. What happened to him? What happened to Joshu? Through the koans, one could detect some subtle changes in the way Joshu was living out the Dharma. In the cases above, there are certain hints of mellowing from the time he interjected. Even if a word is uttered, it is already an action of choosing or clarity. This old monk does not dwell in clarity. Do you monks want to keep a firm hold on it or not? Between that and the next one, once someone asks you like that, I'm so sorry that even after 5 years, I still cannot give an answer. And why don't you quote the sentence to the end? The monk said, I just had this much in my mind. Joshi said, it's just, the Supreme Way is not difficult. It simply dislikes choosing. And of course, there is, Joshi said, no. What happened to Joshu after all those years? Where is Joshu? Where was Joshu? In the first case, who was challenging the monks? In the last 3 cases, who was responding to the monks? If we can see what's being shown here, we're getting a good hint to the true message of the Shinjin Mei. Now, let me ask you, after this Asen card tonight, do you want to have a round of beer or perhaps some good cappuccino? Please tell me what you prefer. Thank you very much for your attention. May all of you, your families and your loved ones, always be well.